Episode 11. Cat-tastrophy.
Directed by Michael Bay, apparently.
Apparently. There's a lot of explosions in this one, and not necessarily for the better.
Yeah.
Ryan, you've got the Netflix description of the episode up.
I do. All right. When Firecat is pulled out of the comic by the Magnivores, he is far less ferocious than they hoped, so they decide to give him some lessons.
So we open up this episode. There's a mom and a son and driving down the road, and the son is reading a Beetleborgs comic with Firecat on the cover, and it flies out the window.
It looks like a pumpkin on the cover.
It does.
It's
It's
just
just
an orange blob with a scary face.
It's Firecat's head.
Some gourd with facial expressions.
He's reading it like next to the window. Like the window's down and he's like, as
you
they're
know-
barreling down the highway.
You know, whenever you were a kid and you were fucking stupid.
I was like, oh no, I lost my comic. And she's like, it's okay. We'll get you a new one at the comic book store when we get into town. The comic doesn't just fly out the window. It fucking
She's also
levitates.
wearing a flapper hat.
She is also wearing like a sun hat. Like, it's
I only
weird.
know it because all I wrote was nice hat.
Yeah. This comic is flying about 15, 20 feet in the air. Definitely not held up by some fishing line.
Totally not.
So Roland, he speeds up to get underneath the comic, doesn't think, oh, it's still 10 feet above me, I can't reach it. And it's Jara using her magic, and she's across the park.
Yeah, they're
waving her
X
hand
amount
like-
of distance
Yeah.
away.
She grabs the comic.
She has a bare naked, well, not bare naked. She's got a
arms
glove,
are
an
bare.
Ash Ketchum glove, and she has like an armband right above her elbow.
Yeah. But she
And-
doesn't have her red sleeves on like she
Yeah.
normally does. They summon Firecat. The three Magnivores are looking at him like,
He's adorable at
crap.
first.
Yeah, it's like it's adorable, but they're like, this is useless. And
Yeah,
breathe,
they're like,
Nox,
yeah. Oh, Typhus is like, breathe fire like Daddy Typhus taught you.
No, do it like Daddy Nox has taught you.
Apparently in the comics, it's believed that they taught this thing how to battle, and they possibly
like their
challenged
pet
the
or
Elite
some
Four. Yeah, then they're like, oh man, he's useless.
They have to refuel and power up Firecat. The next time we see them, they're in, and the kids see them summon.
Yeah, they follow
Firecat,
them to
yeah.
whatever like weird
They follow
warehouse
the
that's full of what were the boxes labeled
So-
as?
It's hard to follow the happenings of this warehouse event because the Magnivores interacting with Firecat and this power-up chamber are all Japanese footage from B-Fighter.
Yeah, it's very jarring differences.
Yeah, the kids are behind some wardrobe boxes. They all say wardrobe.
Which is American footage because it's
Yes.
just the kids, not in costume or
Yeah, and it's just the
org
kids
outfit or whatever.
unmorphed, and they're switching between Japanese and American footage, and it is jarring and abrasive.
It's Jara.
Jarring.
Damn it. God damn it, I was about to do it.
They put Firecat in this power-up chamber, and it looks kind of like a storage container, and a little bit like the thing Captain America went in
Yeah,
to get
it actually-
superpower,
it looks
and
like a pretty
shakes and
unique
steams.
prop.
Yeah. It's
Well, for them,
Japanese footage,
unique.
so they put Firecat into it. They press some generic colored buttons. They don't have any.
They
numbers
honestly
or
just look like
anything.
lights.
They transform. Beetle Bonders, Beetle Blast, and we shoot up to 13 on the
Hell yeah,
song
brother.
counter.
Big
And,
Bad Beetleborgs.
Firecat pops out. The reason Firecat is called Firecat is because it breathes fire. The effect, there's one specific effect, and then there's a couple other.
Because if you see the thumbnail
Better
for the
ones.
episode, you see literally every time he breathes fire except for like once.
It is. It's the
And
same image they use
It's half of
every
the
single
face.
time, and
Yeah.
they use it like 8 times.
Yeah.
It's a side profile of half the face with flames jutting out the nose.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
that's-
it is
yeah.
a
It's a practical
practical
effect.
effect.
They've
It
got
is
like a
a flame-
flamethrower
So
coming
like
out of the thing.
they were fucking proud of
But
it.
what
Right?
doesn't make sense is that amongst all this really cool, they're fighting inside the comic book like they've done before, where it's all the panels and they're like shifting around to the
as
different
they
ones.
transform.
Yeah.
That
And-
good.
Yes.
And it's all Japanese footage, which looks like really neat for some reason.
It's all Japanese footage, but they've minimized it and put it in these comic panels.
compressed.
So it's compressed, so
They
it looks a
JPEG'd it.
little better.
Yeah. Whenever he's in the comic and they do that side profile flame shot of him doing the fire, but then they also put in like an MS Paint fucking PowerPoint-esque sort of graphical effect of fire
It's
over
like an
it.
emoji flame.
Yeah, and
The
it's
precursor to a PNG file.
which
Yeah,
they're
there's no
trying to
reason.
convey it like going beyond the borders, which is what they've done like throughout this fight.
Yeah.
They've done it before, which is kind of a neat effect. It makes it seem more
it's
real.
good. It's not bad.
Firecat just starts breathing fire on everybody.
Right.
Firecat doesn't care.
So yeah, they're fighting the Beetleborgs.
Drew like wholeheartedly takes on Firecat.
Yeah, he tackles them or some shit. He's on top of them and he demorphs. Then he has fur on the back of his hands.
But he decides to hide it from the other two.
Yeah, he's like,
Joe and Roland come up, still Beetleborg, like, hey, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then he just like leaves towards.
This is the first time we see them in school.
We see them in school?
Yeah, remember? That's whenever Drew was going through all those changes.
Shit, you're
Oh,
right.
fuck. Yeah, you are right.
It's not summer.
Yeah, because I was making the
How did I
jokes
not think about
fucking-
that?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
right.
he's-
This is
so
the-
they
so
cut
I
to
didn't even see
school.
them. Presumably middle school, because they're supposed to be like 12 to 13.
Yeah.
He's wearing rubber gloves.
Right.
Not mittens, not
No,
normal gloves
like
you wear.
straight up
He's
Dexter's mom's
latex
gloves.
Yeah,
He sprouts a tail, first of all.
he does. So he's
And
sitting at his desk.
But it's 2019, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And it's wiggling around. No one is noticing this. He goes up to write on the board because the teacher calls his name to go write the answer. He goes up to write something, and for some reason, he now has claws sticking
Yeah.
out of his gloves.
As soon as he starts
And
to
he goes
write,
to write, and his claws scratch on the chalkboard. It is the most unnerving noise I've ever heard on the television.
it is.
And then
now,
Drew comes in and he goes, not a shark like that.
the nails on chalkboard thing is a sound effect that we've all heard tons of times, but it's always like doled down so it doesn't actually make you want to die. This is the straight audio. It makes your spine tingle and your ears seize up.
They did it better than Jaws.
Yeah.
Like,
It's rough. He starts saying like, "I need to go to the nurses," or "I need to leave. I need to be excused."
His eyes glow red, and he goes,
he pulls.
I have to be excused.
Yeah, he pulls a Teen Wolf or
that's the
Teen
part
Wolf
that's not a
2.
joke. That's
Yeah,
real.
and his eyes go red, and he has a demonic voice, and he runs out of the room, and the teacher's like, yeah, okay." At that point, he runs into the
literally
bathroom.
Omen.
So he gets big pointy ears that stick way too far out the side of his head, very Snarf-esque, and he gets just big whiskers and
Yeah.
puffy cheeks. He's got like the facial structure of a cat, and then his ears stick out. They're very Snarf-esque, if you guys know from Thundercats. So the janitor, I guess, when he walks in, he's like, "Hey kid, are you okay?" And he turns around and he just goes, and the janitor, I don't know quite how to
Reveals
face-
himself as Peter Parker.
Well, no.
What we see is he jumps and we see his hands on the ceiling. What we next see is him floating in the air with his hands
He's not
touching
exactly
the ceiling.
floating.
He
Straight up
is-
Spider-Man-ing.
He is straight up Spider-Man. There's no
And
other
it's
explanation.
like drop ceiling too, so I'm surprised
Yeah.
he didn't pull it all out.
Right?
And fall.
Drew runs out and he just takes off. He just runs into Hillhurst.
Right, next
Because
we see
the
is
only
him.
place he's gonna
Well,
go.
next we see is the monsters of Hillhurst before he comes in.
Yeah.
Because
being
the
funky.
monsters,
Flabber is
they're
sitting
flabbing
at the
it up.
Yeah, Flabber is sitting at the
They
piano.
were like
The organ.
they're
Organ.
rehearsing for a thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
they're the monster ball.
Yeah.
The
They're
monster
like
ball.
the
Monster balls.
Flabber's playing the piano or the organ, and all the monsters are behind him doing like a pseudo kick line, and they're like, "Oh man, we gotta get better if we're gonna be at the monster ball," which we
Yeah.
never get to see.
Drew runs in all catified, and the monsters immediately are like, "Not another freeloader!" Like, "Get him
Homeless
out of here!"
freeloader.
Homeless freeloader.
Homeless
That's what
freeloader.
Mums says.
Yeah.
Flabber reacts with like, "What are you? Who are you?" Drew explains to Flabber and the monsters that it's Drew and that he got attacked by Firecat and he somehow is turning into.
Oh right, because Frankenbean's about to end
Frankenbean's
his
gonna
fucking
end
day.
it. Frankenbean charges through
Because as far as we know,
everyone.
Drew doesn't have
Sprinkle
powers
this
anymore
little
since he can't transform.
Yeah. While this conversation is going, the Magnivores are attacking the city.
Yeah.
This is the most
They
effective
start
attack on the city.
fucking shit up.
Firecat is blowing up whole buildings by himself. They're just kind of like rampaging around town. All the Magnivores
I want to
are.
imagine at this point the CIA just has a microscope on
Right.
Charterville.
Yeah. Joe and Roland decide they've got to go find Drew. They don't know what happened to him. So they go chasing after him. Drew decides he's got to go through this machine and find this he calls it an accelerator. I don't know what they called it, but it's this big box.
Accelerator.
Joe and Roland transform to fight, and we get our 14th
Yes.
song counter mark.
No, it didn't work.
Joe and Roland are trying to find Noxic and Drew and all the others and the accelerator and stuff. So they both go into the red AV. So
Yeah, the
Yeah,
first time
Joe
we
and
see
Roland are
two,
both-
and it's the
and they-
Japanese footage.
It's Japanese footage.
Around.
Yeah. They're scanning for presumably the accelerator. They find him.
Which
to
the
fix
bad
it.
guys are like,
We're gonna put him through again.
yeah, they're like, we need to power him up even more.
Yeah.
Gonna pump him up.
And they decide
Got it.
we're gonna do something. We're gonna fight the monster. So they start fighting. Drew, meanwhile, While the
Firecat's
Firecat
already
goes
in
into
there.
the box to power up again, Drew hits some buttons on the side of the box and then he goes, I think that'll do it, and runs in, and
The door closes behind
the door
him.
closes and latches.
Which before I thought, didn't they control it opening and
They
closing?
did originally,
did,
yeah.
yes.
The Magnivores are watching this thing kind of spark and fizz. Roland is holding Typhus, and Typhus and Roland both say at the same time, it's overloading. The doors fly open to the accelerator, and Drew comes out fully Beetleborged.
What I took from that was it powered him, because it's already like
It's meant to
triple
be a
power
power-up.
up for Fat
Yeah.
Cat. Since it was supposed to power up Firecat so much, like, this is to go beyond my limits.
Yeah. This is even my final form. Drew decides, I'm just going to end this right here and now, and pulls out the...
A Glock.
Well, no, the drill thing. What's it called? The sonic drill or notes?
Stinger drill.
Stinger drill.
Well, I had to look on the wiki, just get these
I know.
fucking weapon names
Unfolds
down.
notes.
So they have sonic lasers.
That's their pink/silver guns.
Yeah, that's the little bubble
With
cannon.
the numbers on them.
Then you have pulse sabers, which is all of them have the pulse saber
That's the
sword.
golden blue blade that attaches to the sonic lasers.
Which, yeah, they combine to be sonic laser sabers in all their originality.
Yeah.
Blue Stinger Borg. He's the only one with two weapons, two like basic weapons. He has the Stinger blade,
That's his big blue sword that attaches to the Beetle Battler. Okay.
and then the Green Hunter Borg, which is Roland, has the Hunter Claw, which he loves to just grab snoots and slam dunk them into the ground.
Yep.
And then Joe, as the Red Striker Borg, has the Striker Blaster. So she's popping caps as this blood up in here, up in
Yes.
where, up in here.
So Drew pulls out the Stinger drill, and this thing is like 3.5 feet long.
Yeah.
It's a giant step drill, and when he points it at Firecat, it does what Nick was saying, where it spins because it shows the final attack move, and it obliterates Firecat, just takes him out.
Yep.
And then he
Fucks
turns
his
right back around and goes, "Now it's your turn," and looks at Noxic and Typhus, and they're like, "Fuck this," and they just teleport out. Firecat flame emojis back into the comic book,
Oh, yeah.
which is
There's a guy picking up trash, and he stabs the comic book, and he's like, what's
what's
this?
this?
Despite everyone in town rioting over the new Beetleborg.
Yeah.
But he, as soon as he does, like, it starts glowing, that orange glow it do. The shockwaves went, like, up his arm. Like, it had
they,
yellow-orange effects
it
going up.
electrocuted him.
Yeah.
theoretically.
But, like, he didn't, like, feel
It attacked
pain.
his pacemaker.
he did throw it down.
He threw it
but
down, but he wasn't like, ow. He, like, it happened, and he was like,
He just freaked out
"Ugh."
and ran. He was like, "This is too much."
Yeah.
And-
I gotta go alert Spider-Man. He's working at the local middle school.
We cut back to Zoom Comics. We see Trip and Van are talking to the kid who lost his comic earlier at the very beginning of the episode. They're saying, "Hey, we saw the Beetleborgs earlier today, and they signed this comic book for you." And Trip, or one of them, has just signed this comic. with
Right,
their
as
own
they
hand.
attempt to scam this
Yeah.
kid's last.
They don't even
fucking
change the signature.
20
It literally says Trip Von Dickbag.
Yeah.
They're like, they signed this comic. We'll sell it to you. As the kid is going to be like starting to consider it, the Beetleborgs see them unmorphed. They're in the comic shop hanging out, and they're like,
Fuck these pieces
Yeah.
of cunt, and they morph into the
They-
Beetleborgs.
they go and they
Drop
morph.
the base.
and then they come back in fully Beetleborged out
Right,
in
which
the comic
apparently
shop.
they don't have a security system in this shop.
No, because they didn't see him morph. And they walk up to this kid who's gonna get this comic. They're like, "Hey, we're the Beetleborgs. You want
Guess
an
what,
autograph?"
motherfucker?
And the kid's like, "Yeah." And so they just grab a random comic off the shelf and sign it, give it to the kid. Trip and Van are like, "Can we
suck
get an
himself
autograph?" Well, this one's already signed. Must be
be
a
a fake.
forgery.
Right.
And hands it back to them. And Trip is like visibly crying.
They do
banging
like
the
a
comic
a
against-
salute.
And then she grabs
Yeah,
him by the
'cause-
fucking chest hairs or whatever and just slaps him a couple times.
I wish.
He
Yeah.
turns into a Maine Coon. He turns into the Ron Perlman cat.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like less muscular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's very weird because he's not covered in fur.